Good morning, first grade. We're going to start with a happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. Continuing with our animals, our Laura Numeroff series. And today we're moving into If You Give a Moose a Muffin. Book for today, If You Give a Moose a Muffin. It's Wednesday. Science, we're learning about animals. Remember, Miss Thompson is not with me in the classroom, but she is doing all the behind-the-scenes action for us, getting our videos uploaded onto YouTube. Little Miss Carter music for today. I've got a couple of different instruments for you. Here we move into animals, and more animals. We all love animals. Couple of animal sounds. I know you like those sounds. And we're going right into our shared reading for this week that is in your packet. Animal song. As we're doing our animal song, we only did one little chunk yesterday because this is a long song and I'm breaking it into chunks. We talked about seven different types of animals. We have mammals, we have birds, we have fish, reptiles, amphibians, insects, and remember we added arachnids, our different types of animals, getting in a little science. And we're learning about different types of animals, and animals are grouped by characteristics. And we started yesterday with mammals, and we talked about, this is a review, mammals have lungs, they breathe, they are warm-blooded, they have fur or hair. They give birth to living young. They give milk to their babies. Dogs, cows, monkeys, elephants, cats, humans, horses, and dolphins are all examples of mammals. Now, following along in your packet with your shared reading poem or following along from my smartboard, I need to hear you reading with me. We're just going to do first chunk, animal song. I'm going to go ahead and introduce you again to that little tune. We will be listening to the whole song as we move into our Laura Numeroff series of books. But for today, we're just going to do our chunk on mammals. Mammals have lungs that breathe the air, warm-blooded bodies that have fur or hair. Mammals give birth to their living young. Mothers give milk to their daughters and sons. Dogs say roof, cats say meow, cows say moo, humans say wow, monkeys say ooh, 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 horses say neigh, elephants say pfft, dolphins say click, 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 move like a mammal. Now dance like a mammal. Let's go back and talk about review our 7 different types of animals. Mammals, birds, fish, reptiles, amphibians, insects, and arachnids. A little review from yesterday. Laura Numeroff, and more Laura Numeroff. Just show me the Laura Numeroff. We're reading several books in the Laura Numeroff series. Our continents, we talked about yesterday, getting in a little social studies. Different animals live in different parts of the world. Where an animal lives is called an animal habitat. Going over our 7 continents, North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica. And that is a photo of Laura Numeroff, and she wrote a whole series of books, And a lot of her book titles begin with "If you give a" or "If you take a." Yesterday's book was "If you give a mouse a cookie." And that was our book that we read yesterday. And after we read, we did a big talk about sequence of events, cause and effect, and we did that yesterday with our flow map. And your job was to do a reread from the video and take an AR test. Today we're moving into our second book in the Laura Numeroff series. After Laura Numeroff wrote "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie," that book was such a popular book that her readers begged her for more. So her second book in the "If You Give a" series is "If You Give a Moose a Muffin." Let's read together. I should hear you from home. Title: "If You Give a Moose a Muffin." Author: Laura Numeroff. Illustrator: Felicia Bond. Genre: fiction. Genre: fantasy. Author's purpose: to entertain. And I'm going to shift my camera so we can go right into our book on the carpet for today. Now, yesterday was "If You Give a Mouse a Cookie," and today is going to be "If You Give a Moose a Muffin." Here we go. Reviewing our parts of a book. We do this almost every day on the carpet. This would be my book jacket. This would be my title page, which gives my title, my author, and my illustrator. This would be my copyright page, which tells when my book was published. And this would be my dedication page, which tells me who my author and illustrator dedicated this book to. And the dedication page reads, "For Alice and Emily, the two best sisters anyone could ever possibly want. LJN." That is Laura Numeroff, and she dedicated this book to her sisters. Felicia Bond says, "For Antoine, Nathan, Jennifer, Santos, Brian, and Crystal." And that's who Felicia Bond, the illustrator, dedicated this book to. Remember, the author is the person that writes the book. The illustrator is the person who draws the pictures. As we're reading today, I want you to be thinking about what kind of book this is. I want you to be thinking about sequence of events, putting the events in the correct order, which we will do at the end, just like we did yesterday. And I want you to think about cause and effect. Yesterday, "If you give a mouse a cookie" was the cause. "He'll ask for a glass of milk" was the effect. If we hadn't had the cause, the cookie, we would not have had the milk, the effect. So thinking about sequence of events, putting things in order, and cause and effect. "If you give a moose a muffin," and that's an illustration of a moose, "he'll want some jam to go with it." Now, jam's a little bit like jelly. Jelly is smooth. Jam is kind of like jelly, but jam has the chunks of fruit in it, so it's a little bit thicker than jelly. So you'll bring out some of your mother's homemade blackberry jam. Blackberry jam is jam made from a fruit, blackberries. When he's finished eating the muffin, he'll want another. And another, and another. He must be either really, really hungry or really, really greedy. He eats a muffin, he wants another, another, and another. When they're all gone, he'll ask you to make more. You'll have to go to the store to get some muffin mix. Muffin mix in the grocery store comes in the same place where the cake mix is. If Mom makes a cake out of a box mix, the muffin mix is in that same section in the grocery store. So the little boy is having to go to the store to get more muffin mix. He'll want to go with you. When he opens the door and feels how chilly it is, he'll ask to borrow a sweater. We're inferring when he feels how chilly it is, he's feeling cold, character feeling, so he wants a sweater. When he puts the sweater on, he'll notice one of the buttons is loose. He'll ask for a needle and thread. Text to text, needle and thread reminds me of Violet, who liked to sew from the Boxcar Children beginning. He'll start sewing, just like Violet. The button will remind him of the puppets his grandmother used to make. Puppets. So he'll ask for some old socks. He'll make sock puppets. He's being resourceful. He doesn't have puppets, so he's making puppets. And he's making puppets out of things that they can find at home. That's being resourceful. When they're done, I love the sock puppet. There's a mouse right there, and there's a moose. He'll want to put on a puppet show. He'll need some cardboard and paints, like you might use in art class. Then he'll ask you to help make the scenery. The scenery is when you go to a play or you go to a show. The scenery is what shows the setting or the background. When the scenery is finished, he'll get behind the couch. I'm inferring he's trying to hide, but his antlers will stick out. So he'll ask for something to cover them up so nobody will see his antlers. He says, hey, I need something to cover them up. You'll bring him a sheet from your bed. Once again, the little boy is being resourceful. He needs something to cover up the antlers. So he goes and finds something in his house that he already has, a sheet. When he sees the sheet, he'll remember he wants to be a ghost for Halloween. He'll try it on and shout, boo, because a ghost likes to say boo. It'll scare him so much, he'll knock over the paints. I'm thinking about Miss Grady if you knocked over her paints. Oh boy, would she be upset. So he'll use the sheet to clean up the mess. Once again, being resourceful. Then he'll ask for some soap to wash it out. He'll probably want to hang the sheet up to dry. Now, I wonder where he's going to want to hang the sheet up to dry. He'll go outside to put it on the clothesline. A clothesline is a place where people hang their clothes outside with clothespins. When he's out in the yard, he'll see your mother's blackberry bushes. Now, I wonder what the blackberry bushes are going to make him think about. Seeing the blackberries will remind him of her jam. He'll probably ask you for some. What do you think's going to happen when he asks you for some jam? And chances are, ... ellipsis, if you give him the jam, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to be the effect? You're right. He'll want a muffin to go with it. So we started our book with if you give a moose a muffin, and we ended with, he'll want a muffin to go with it. So we started with the muffin, we went all the way around, and we ended with a muffin. Now we're going to turn my camera back to the smartboard. We're going to go right into Miss Sheppard's little teaching points for today. They're going to be the same as yesterday. So now that we're in day 2, book 2, some of this is going to already sound familiar to you. Everything yesterday was sounding new. If you give a mouse a cookie song, what do you think will happen next? We already listened to that. Have that on that clip. My teaching points for today, we talked about if you give a moose a muffin. We started with a muffin. We moved all the way around, and we said that was a full circle book that had a circular ending. We started with a muffin, we ended with a muffin. New word, I think, from yesterday, protagonist. The protagonist in my story or my book is the main character, and my protagonist was a moose. Getting in a little science, a moose is a mammal, and that goes along with our animal song that we started with at the beginning of our lesson. Yesterday, a mouse, and if you give a mouse a cookie, was a mammal, and today our moose is a mammal. As we were reading today, I asked you to be thinking about making predictions or telling me what you think would happen next. We're going to focus on sequence of events and cause and effect. I talked about a little bit about that as I read to you today. Now, you do have this in your packet. If you give a moose a muffin, our sequence of events is the order that the events in the story happen. We started, I introduced you to yesterday, cause and effect. And remember, I told you this is a reading skill that's a little bit tricky. The cause is what happens. The effect is the result. And if you give a mouse a cookie, giving a mouse a cookie was the cause. The effect was he'll ask for a glass of milk. Today, in if you give a moose a muffin, the cause is going to be giving a moose a muffin. The effect is he's going to ask for some jam. So my cause would be the muffin. The jam would be the effect or the result. Now we're going to do our flow map just like we did yesterday, and we're going to review our sequence of events that are already on your flow map in the correct order. All you need to do for this in your packet is to read along with me and be good listeners. Nothing for you to write down. Started with a muffin, and then we went to homemade blackberry jam. Then after the homemade blackberry jam, next the moose wanted another muffin and another muffin and another muffin. And then after that, the boy was going to have to go to the store to get more muffin mix to make more muffins. Remember my flow map, I come around this way. When they go outside, it's going to feel chilly. So the moose is going to ask for a sweater. Next, on the sweater there was a loose button. Next, he was going to ask for a needle and thread. Remember, that reminded me of Violet in the Boxcar Children beginning, text-to-text connection. The needle and thread was going to make him want to make puppets. He didn't have puppets, so he's going to be resourceful. He asked for some old socks, and he made sock puppets. He made a mouse sock puppet and a moose sock puppet. After he made the puppets, he was going to want to have a puppet show. Then he was going to want cardboard and paint for the scenery or to show the setting. Soon after that, he tried to hide behind the couch, but his antlers were sticking out, so he wanted something to cover up his antlers. Remember, I'm looping all the way around. So next, the little boy got him a sheet from his bed. The sheet made him think about being a ghost for Halloween. So he shouted boo, and he knocked over the paints. After that, he needed soap to wash out the paint from the sheet. Moving my arrow, all looping around. Then after he washed out the sheet, it was wet, so he wanted to hang the sheet on a clothesline. While he was outside, he saw the blackberry bushes. The blackberry bushes made his brain think about jam. And when he thought about jam, that meant he was going to want another muffin. We started our flow map with a muffin. We ended our flow map with a muffin. And that is what makes it a full circle or a circular ending book. Now we went over full circle, circular ending. Our protagonist, Moose, he was a mammal. As we were reading, good readers, as they're reading, are making predictions. We went over our sequence of events in our flow map, and we talked about cause and effect. Cause would be, if you give a moose a muffin, that's what happened. The effect or the result would be, he would want some jam to go with the muffin. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is, I'd like to show you, let me close my highlighter. I'd like to show you our clip for today. This is going to allow you to be able to see the illustrations a little bit more closely. And that highlighter does not want to close. There we go.
If you give a moose a muffin. If you give a moose a muffin, he'll want some jam to go with it. So you'll bring out some of your mother's homemade blackberry jam. When he's finished eating a muffin, he'll want another, and another, and another. When they're all gone, he'll ask you to make more. You'll have to go to the store to get some muffin mix. He'll want to go with you. When he opens the door and feels how chilly it is, he'll ask to borrow a sweater. When he puts the sweater on, he'll notice one of the buttons is loose. He'll ask for a needle and thread. He'll start sewing. The button will remind him of the puppets his grandmother used to make. So he'll ask for some old socks. He'll make sock puppets. When they're done, he'll want to put on a puppet show. He'll need some cardboard and paints. Then he'll ask you to help make the scenery. When the scenery is finished, he'll get behind the couch, but his antlers will stick out. So he'll ask for something to cover them up. You'll bring him a sheet from your bed. So he'll use the sheet to clean up the mess. Then he'll ask for some soap to wash it out. He'll probably want to hang the sheets up to dry. He'll he'll go outside to put it on the clothesline. When he's out in the yard, he'll see your mother's blackberry bushes. Seeing the blackberries will remind him of her jam. He'll probably ask you for some. And chances are, if you give him the jam, he'll want a muffin to go with it.
Okay, that was our clip for today. As we end up our lesson for this morning, your assignment to begin with, if you were at Walton Academy, I would ask you to do a reread of If You Give a Moose a Muffin, and then take an AR test as I was working with my reading groups. Since I can't give you the book to reread, if you have the book at home, you can do a reread at home. If you do not, I want you to rewind the video and either listen to Ms. Sheppard read the book again or watch the video clip again. This will count as your reread. Then I want you to go back to the flow map, and I want you to go back through our sequence of events. You have this in your packet, nothing to write. Just go back over and read through our sequence of events. And then after you read through the flow map, I want you to take your AR test on If You Give a Moose a Muffin, and this will help you meet your AR goal for the fourth 9 weeks and watch that flower grow. Remember, I'll be able to go in and tell that you've taken your AR test, and I'll be able to tell what your score was. Now, that's a good wrap for this lesson. Our second book in the Laura Numeroff series, If You Give a Moose a Muffin, that was book number 2. Remember, we said a moose type of animal is a mammal. And tomorrow we will continue with the third book in the Laura Numeroff series. I hope you have a happy Wednesday. Thank you for being such good listeners. I miss you so much, and I'll see you soon with our next lesson together on the carpet. Have a great day.